Hey there, this is Tracy Cotton from Morrow Insurance Agency, signing on to do my Periscope today. Who cares about your insurance? And the question of the day. Well, thank you so much for the hearts. For those of you who are watching on YouTube for the replay on the Morrow Insurance Agency McDowell Division channel, you won't see the people's comments that I'm actually responding to. So not crazy, but I will be responding to those. And so definitely check me out on Periscope if you want to be able to interact with me instead of just listening to these on replay on YouTube, because that's where these are posted after they're recorded. Hope everybody is having a wonderful Tuesday today. Again, thank you so much for the hearts. I have, hey there, Reagan, how are you? Appreciate you joining. If you get a chance, you should really check out at Reagan Black on Periscope. She is a writer, a very accomplished writer, and she does a wonderful inspirational quote of the day every morning on Periscope. And so check her out in the mornings. Normally you'll catch me in the afternoons with the question of the day. And that's actually, oh, you're welcome. But actually, for the rest of the week, I did want to let everybody know that I will be in a class in Asheville. And so because it takes up most of the day and it's really hard to get away during the day, I figured that what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do a morning question of the day for the next few days. So for Wednesday through Friday of this week, it'll be an earlier morning. I believe it'll probably be about 8:30. And so I will hope to catch some of y'all in the morning. Maybe you're more morning people than you are afternoon people anyway. But thanks again for the hearts. And I did just want to do the question of the day today. As always, as if you've not ever checked me out here on Periscope, I try to answer an insurance question that pertains to small businesses or farm businesses, farms being businesses in general. But I also am open to answer other questions for you on insurance, just very general, because obviously I'm in North Carolina and you may be anywhere else in the world. But if you've got a question, you can feel free to email me at insurancewisetracy@gmail.com. And that will hopefully give you an opportunity to interact with me behind the scenes, and I'd be happy to do that. I had talked the other day about medical payments coverage, and we've talked about general liability and the certificate of insurance. I wanted to talk about one other little spot up there in the general liability that a lot of business owners read and they have no idea what the coverage does for them. And it is personal and advertising injury. Personal and advertising injury underneath your general liability. It's something that shows up on a certificate. It's something that will show up on your declaration page. And typically it'll be for the same amount of coverage as your per occurrence, $1 million or maybe less, but $1 million is probably what it's going to show there. And you're like, $1 million of what? What is personal and advertising injury? And so I thought that it would be helpful just to know a little bit about what that means. In the liability policy, and thanks so much for joining us, in the liability policy, the primary thing that it's trying to do for you for liability is covering injury from a bodily standpoint. Most of the time, somebody is going to actually claim that they were hurt physically from your product or from tripping at your place of business or something that you produced off of your farm. Those kinds of things are what you typically see as far as for liability. But what you often will see is that somebody is injured in a way that is not physical. It's not something that you can actually see. And so instead of being a bodily or physical injury, it's called a personal injury. Now here's some examples of personal injury. Libel and slander are things that you could actually do where you could be held responsible if you said something about somebody that ended up hurting them from a reputation standpoint. If, say, for instance, as a business owner, I happen to make mention of another business in a way that was derogatory, that business could literally come against me and say that I had said libelous or slanderous things about them and hurt their business and their reputation. That's personal injury. Wrongful eviction actually falls underneath that category. It's a little bit odd, but what it means is that you didn't hurt them personally, but you put them out of a house. If you're a landlord, that's a really important coverage to have, is personal injury, because it will take care if you end up throwing somebody out who legally still had the right to be there. It's not very normal. Invasion of privacy, that can actually fall underneath personal injury. Personal injury could just mean that, you had mental anguish, but typically they are able to pay that underneath bodily injury, because it is a physical thing. It's actually something that happens to you physically. But your reputation, your privacy, your, those types of things are actually things that, they can't really put your finger on, but you still could sue for them. And so you have coverage underneath there for that. Advertising is just kind of a similar thing. You didn't hurt somebody by actually doing something with your product, but something you put in the advertising of that product led them to believe that perhaps maybe they thought that your product was gluten-free and it wasn't, and they had allergic reaction. Perhaps you said that your product actually would remove paint from something, and instead it didn't remove paint, and in fact perhaps it did damage of some sort. Well, the advertising itself could actually be covered underneath that, because you could just be considered at fault for false advertising. And maybe it wasn't your fault, you didn't mean to actually advertise yourself falsely, but regardless, their coverage is there. And one of the things that I think is really, thanks so much for joining us, one of the things I think is really interesting about insurance, especially from a liability standpoint, it is even if you didn't really do anything wrong, but you have been actually have suit papers sent against you, you've got somebody taking you to court. If you've got liability insurance, and it be under the personal advertising or bodily or whatever, they're going to go to court for you. And those court costs are actually going to be taken care of from them as well. Now, how that is handled, it does vary from policy to policy, and you'll want to talk to your insurance agent about it. And that's why I say that $1 million is really almost not enough coverage in today's world. But definitely make sure and know what your coverages are. Look at your certificates or at your declaration pages. And again, if you have any questions about your insurance and you're just wanting maybe a little bit of advice, email me, insurancewisetracy@gmail.com. I would greatly appreciate hearing from you. I do appreciate your hearts. I appreciate you joining me. I hope that I will catch you guys in the next couple of days, earlier in the day. And if you have any questions, just feel free to put something out there for me as well. I'll be looking forward to it. Meanwhile, have a great rest of your Tuesday. Thanks so much, Reagan. Have a great day.